What's up, Taiwan? I'm Eric Gao. Thanks for joining us here for the news. On the third anniversary of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that he will resign if there is peace and if his country is admitted into NATO. Meanwhile, Russia has used the eve of the anniversary to launch its biggest drone attack on Ukraine since the war began. Rosie Graninger reports.
Smoke rises from Ukrainian capital Kyiv after an unprecedented Russian drone attack in a continued campaign to, as they put it, denazify Ukraine. A total of 267 drones were launched, raining down explosives across the country on the eve of the third anniversary of Moscow's full-scale invasion. With millions of people displaced and tens of thousands killed in the three-year conflict, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky made an offer for peace.
Якщо мир для України, якщо вам дуже потрібно, щоб я залишив свій пост, я готовий. Друга історія, можу поміняти це на НАТО. Якщо є такі умови, одразу, щоб довго про це не говорити.
Zelensky's comments came as US support for Ukraine dwindles under new President Donald Trump, who has falsely accused Zelensky of starting the war and labelled him a dictator without elections. That's despite the Ukrainian leader being democratically elected in 2019 and Ukrainian law prohibiting elections during periods of martial law, which the country has been under since Russia began its invasion in 2022. Trump has also been pressuring his Ukrainian counterpart to return money he says the US has spent on Ukraine's war effort. The US president claims the previous Biden administration spent $500 billion on Ukraine's defense against Russia and wants access to rare earth minerals in return. Zelensky said while a deal with the US is moving forward, the US contributed a much lower figure of $100 billion, and he did not recognize the wartime aid as borrowed.
Я домовлявся з Байденом і домовлявся з Конгресом Сполучених Штатів Америки. Я вдячен Конгресу. Це була присутність двох партій і підтримка грантів. Грант то не є борг, і ми не потрібні віддавати борг.
Meanwhile, Washington is advancing Ukraine negotiations with Moscow after Russian President Vladimir Putin agreed with Trump to begin peace talks in Saudi Arabia last week. Neither Ukraine nor Europe were invited to the table. The Kremlin says another round of talks will take place in the coming days. It's unclear if Ukraine will be involved this time, but both Ukraine and European allies have made clear no deal for lasting peace can be made without the involvement of Kyiv.
Peace only comes through strength. Nobody wants the bloodshed to continue. Nobody, least of all the Ukrainians. But after everything that they have suffered, after everything that they have fought for, there can be no discussion about Ukraine without Ukraine, and the people of Ukraine must have a long-term secure future.
And that's what Ukrainians say they've longed for since the Russian invasion, a return to normalcy and peace.
По-перше, це прокинутися без повітряних тривог, що всі мої друзі повернуться з фронту додому, що на територіях України не буде окупаційного режиму, і ми повернемося до кордонів, які записані в Конституції України.
Вже 3 роки ми в таких умовах живемо, і інколи, коли задумуюся, здається, що війна ніколи не закінчиться. Дуже хочеться, щоб війна закінчилась, щоб настав мир, спокій, тишина, тиша.
On the 24th of February 2022, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered thousands of troops to invade Ukraine as the country sought to gain membership to the NATO military alliance. Military analysts expected Moscow to quickly seize control of Kyiv, but the Ukrainian president remained defiant, implementing a general mobilization, and the country was supported by US funding. But with a dramatic shift in US policy, now open to direct dialogue with Moscow after years of silence and threatening to cut funding, Ukrainians feel betrayed, holding protests in capital cities across the globe.
Algo hace porque como venido ahora nuevo presidente de Trump quiere cambiar todo. Antes Estados Unidos apoyaba a nosotros y ahora dar la espalda.
European leaders are scrambling to show their support for the embattled country, aiming to visit Zelensky in Kyiv this week to discuss the security of Europe and Ukraine without US support. But as their leader continues to search for a path towards peace, Ukrainians take a moment to mourn all they've lost as they mark another milestone in this devastating war. James Lin and Rosie Greninger for TaiwanPlus.
Over 100 people gathered in central Taipei to condemn Russia's invasion and to show solidarity with Ukrainians. As Rick Laut reports, Taiwanese have come to strongly identify with Ukraine's struggle over the last 3 years of war.
Standing shoulder to shoulder, Taiwanese join Ukrainians in protest outside Moscow's de facto embassy in Taipei. 3 years into Russia's full-scale invasion and as US support for Ukraine wavers, Taiwanese here say Ukraine's fight for freedom resonates with their own battle to fend off threats from neighbouring China, which claims Taiwan as part of its territory.
Because we share the same fate, because we are all under the same military threats by the authoritarian powers. I think we are the fortress of democracy. We must stay strong together.
因为他们的处境会让我们也担心台湾。那原先一直觉得说，如果欧洲跟美国都能够联手支持乌克兰的话，觉得这个国家应该未来的状况是可以乐观。但现在看起来又好像不是这样子。
Taiwan has come to see its fate inextricably linked to Ukraine, knowing that a win for Vladimir Putin in Europe would send a clear message to Chinese President Xi Jinping and his ambitions to take Taiwan. The government and people of Taiwan have sent millions of US dollars in aid to Ukraine. And more than a dozen volunteer Taiwanese soldiers have taken up arms to fight alongside Ukrainians, with 2 giving their lives. But now that Kyiv is unsure it can depend on the United States under President Donald Trump, Ukrainians say friendly democracies must do more to support its struggle, calling on high-technology hub Taiwan to make sure its wares are not used against Ukraine.
Taiwanese microchips, sensitive technology which is used in Russian weapons, for example in glide bombs, still coming to Russia. So Taiwan and other democracies, they can help by strengthening their export controls and improving their sanction policy in order to prevent Russia and Russian partners, Iran and North Korea, getting the technology for their weapons.
Many here in Taiwan have been watching in horror as Trump pulls the rug out from under Ukraine, withdrawing military aid and dramatically switching US allegiances towards authoritarian Russia. Taiwan too relies on US support. The weapons it supplies helps to counter the China threat. And Trump has also accused Taiwan of taking the protection it offers for granted. Taiwanese President Lai Ching-te recently committed to another boost in defense spending, seen as a move to placate Trump.
Lai is trying to show himself and Taiwan as serious about Taiwan's defense, about willing to help out U.S. industry, and what he's trying to avoid is this image that he is a free rider on the U.S. and that the U.S. Is just giving Taiwan benefits without anything returned.
Though he has only been in office a few weeks, Trump has turned the international order on its head. His handling of Ukraine has left that nation scrambling and fractured Europe-US relations. Here in Taiwan, a delicate status quo with China across the strait keeps a fragile peace. But the war in Ukraine has revealed the harsh realities that peace is not guaranteed, and neither is support from more powerful allies. Joseph Wu and Rick Laut for TaiwanPlus.
The leader of Germany's conservative Christian Democrats, Friedrich Merz, has declared victory in the country's elections. Merz is set to become Germany's next chancellor, but it's not clear who his party will form a coalition with. The hard-right Alternative for Germany, or AfD, is projected to come second, its best result ever. Merz has pledged to establish a government as soon as possible and to restore Germany's damaged status in the world.
Denn, liebe Freundinnen und Freunde, die Welt da draußen wartet nicht auf uns. Und sie wartet auch nicht auf langatmige Koalitionsgespräche und Verhandlungen. Wir müssen jetzt wieder schnell handlungsfähig werden, damit wir im Inneren das Richtige tun können, dass wir in Europa wieder präsent sind, dass auf der Welt wahrgenommen wird, Deutschland wird wieder zuverlässig regiert. Und dafür
Before the election, Mutz ruled out working with the far-right AfD, which had been endorsed by Elon Musk. Japan's defense minister has visited a Philippine military base to inspect a radar system provided by his country.
この日本の装備品、今、国際的にこの技術の競争が激しいんですけれども、やはり地域の平和と安定に役に立っているということは素晴らしいことでありまして。
The air surveillance system is part of a $10 million security deal. It's meant to boost the Philippines' maritime security, given rising tensions in the South China Sea. The two U.S. allies have strengthened their security ties over the past 2 years over shared concerns about China's activities in the region. They formed a military pact last year, allowing for joint operations. The Vatican says Pope Francis remains in critical condition and is showing signs of kidney failure. The 88-year-old leader of the Catholic Church was hospitalized on February 14th and has been battling pneumonia in both lungs. The Vatican says he is receiving supplemental oxygen and that the problems with his kidneys are currently under control. Francis has served as Pope for almost 12 years and is the sovereign of Vatican City, Taiwan's last ally in Europe. Taiwanese companies are making big moves abroad, investing more money overseas than ever before. That's according to new central bank numbers for 2024. The increase is largely due to Taiwan chip giant TSMC's efforts to expand into the U.S. and Japan, including its first fabrication plant in Japan, as well as efforts by other companies in the chip-making industry. Taiwan's national baseball team struggled on Sunday night, falling to Nicaragua. But they still have one last shot at making it to the 2026 World Baseball Classic. Sandy Chi reports.
Cheers ring out at the Taipei Dome as Team Taiwan fights for a spot at the World Baseball Classic at the qualifiers Sunday night. The national team, playing as Chinese Taipei, lost 0-6 to Nicaragua in front of thousands of fans.
当然，今天比赛落败嘛，当然整体上李家花在整体的一个攻击的串联，展现得很好，的确。那当然这边我们可能就是要稍微去再去讨论，然后怎么样让整体的一个攻击力，然后更有效率这样子。
Aside from showing where the team can improve, the manager says this loss has also given some of the players valuable experience.
洛奇刚刚我们在整个一个过程中有看到他的一个出赛的一个过程是好的，那还有陈宇宏，那他今天的时候他有在整个投球上面有做修正啊，也看到他的成长。对，那当然先发的祥胜，我们在看他的时候，其实他在整体的一个控球上面品质上面还是维持很好的，那这对他来讲未来也都是一个很好的经验这样子。
Though defeated by Nicaragua, many of Taiwan's fans still have high hopes for the team.
还是可以拿到资格赛的门票，加油！
觉得我们的每一个选手都有非常好的表现，即便我们的攻击没有串联，但是还是有表现好球的机会。
这比赛我觉得是关键时刻没有适时的一击，然后对方有掌握到攻击的这个关键，对，但我觉得其实表现内容还不会太差，对，会继续加油，我相信他们可以的。台湾
Taiwan has a record of 1 win and 2 losses in the qualifiers, placing 3rd out of 4 participating countries, including Spain, Nicaragua, and South Africa.
Taiwan will next play Spain at a winner-takes-all final match, where the team will have to fight hard to earn their spot to play at the World Baseball Classic in 2026. Patrick Chen and Sandy Chi in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks for joining us here on What's Up Taiwan. Head over to our website, TaiwanPlus.com, to find more of our news reports and other programs. Finally, check out people having fun in these illuminated ice castles in New Hampshire in the U.S. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you next time.